Today's our Labor Day barbecue that we have every day. This is every year. This is our 26th year of it.
And why does this event take place?
Well, we feel that those of us with good jobs and that it's time to help out those who don't have a good job, or unemployed, or they're underemployed, or just need a helping hand. So we're fortunate enough to have the ability to have a good job, so we can help those who don't.
And this is taking place in Giovanni Caboto Park in Edmonton's Little Italy. Why is this particular location chosen for it?
You know, it was chosen many years ago. It'd be in the 26th year, because this is where the need was most prevalent, and it still seems to be. This is where the most, like the community leagues and the Boyle Street centers and stuff like that are in this general area. So we have it here because it's closer to the people who are in most need.
And what do you hope will be the outcome of today's event?
You know, out of this, a guy come by, I sent him over to a person to talk about a job, and he's happy. Monday morning or Tuesday morning he can go down and see about a job, but that's a rare thing. Mostly it's just give a person a chance to have a decent meal and show them that we care about each other.
Over the years there have been some controversy about the location of the barbecue in this particular park. What are some of the things that the EDLC is now doing to help alleviate some of the concerns of area residents?
Well, they were worried about the crowds and that, so we do better crowd control. There was issues about garbage and pickup and that, so we've got groups going around the whole community picking up garbage. Parking was an issue, so we've asked our members to park out of the area, that sort of thing. They were worried about crime, so we've got the Edmonton City Police to come in here and do their tours around it and that sort of stuff. So when they bring up a concern, we do deal with it as best we can, and we will try to alleviate their concerns. We do understand that there is issues, but we try not to make them the community's issues.
He wasn't really freezing, but there's a reason. It was such a chilling thought.
Who we are and why we put this together is because we're a coalition of concerned citizens who believe that all human lives matter. We want to encourage our government that the discussion around the role that Canada has in this current refugee crisis does not have to only be about money, but rather about the values that we all hold as Canadians. A country that has historically welcomed refugees and immigrants with open arms. Canada is a country of immigrants, and no matter how many generations your family has lived here, you can always trace back the stories behind your family's arrival in this great land of ours.
Here in Canada. As Edmontonians, we want to show that refugees are welcome, and we want the government to catch up on these needs facing our brothers and sisters from Syria.
In 1492, good old Christopher came over with his boat looking for India. And they didn't know how to preserve the food for winter. So if our people hadn't helped them, they would have not survived their first winter here. So our people helped them. They welcomed them here. And they helped them and showed them how to prepare the food here so they'd have something to eat for the winter, so they wouldn't starve to death, so that they could carry on from year to year. So Canada has been welcoming people from other countries since 1492, and we're still welcoming refugees today.
I've seen some of the placards that are saying, "We want an anti-war government." For those of you who know Mennonites, that's really music to our ears. We believe in nonviolence, and we're all for that. But we aren't the only ones. I want you to know that the family standing behind me, that there's two other young men in this family that aren't here tonight, But all of these men were at risk of being taken into all sorts of groups and forced to be violent. They're the lucky ones that got out. They didn't have to fight, and they're here away from that. But we join them in saying that violence is never best fought with more violence, and we ask our government leaders to put humanitarian relief ahead of violent intervention. Thank you.
I don't want this to just be another sensationalized news story. I want us to keep up this momentum, and I want us to keep fighting for this cause, because there are so many more people who need help.
Okay, this is our weekly picket, and it's organized by the Edmonton Coalition Against War and Racism and the Facebook group Edmontonians Against Bill C-51. So every week we're in a different location, we talk to people, we come with our signs, and we invite any group or organization that wants to come and put forward the issues facing Canadians in this election, whether it's questions of rights and the opposition to C-51, the need for an anti-war government. We invite the people who are fighting to defend our public services, to come and participate, to defend the public post.
I see a lot of the signs.
They fight for renewal of our democracy, from people who are taking a stand, demanding that Canada fulfill its international obligations for refugees. So, we invite everyone to come with us.
I noticed quite a number of the signs refer to Harper and the need to defeat Harper in the upcoming election. Are you promoting a specific political agenda here, or guiding people in terms of how to vote? How exactly does that work?
See, the thing is this, that we need to defeat Harper, but we also recognize, like for example, in the Parliament, there really is no voice that takes a principled stand on Canada's foreign policy. There's no voice that says that Canada should not participate in wars of aggression, that we should not be in Syria, that we should not have joined the aggression against Libya. So Canada now is playing a major role in actually, for example, like yesterday we had a big demonstration here on the question of refugees, and people saying refugees are welcome here. So one of the things discussed there was the question, well, who is creating these refugees? What is it that's happening? That you have the US and NATO and Canada as a big participant carrying out the destruction of nations and countries in the Middle East, carrying out war, destabilizing and creating complete anarchy and chaos and complete breakdown of society in country after country, and it has created an unprecedented crisis of refugees. So, where's the voice for this? So in this election, we have to defeat Harper, but we also have to make sure that we're fighting for the new, whether it be on the economy or the question of renewal of the democracy or question of the anti-war government. We need to be fighting for the new and putting forward that agenda ourselves. So these pickets really, you can say, they're part of us occupying this space for change, the people themselves. We don't want to be put in this position where we have to choose between agendas that someone else has set. We want to be part of establishing the agenda. And we know that, like the majority of Canadians, they don't agree with Canada participating in these wars. So where's that vote? who's representing that stand of Canadians? So it's a very serious problem we're facing. So of course people have to work it out, how to vote to make sure Harper is defeated. But at the same time, we're doing it in a manner that advances the fight of the people to establish the new. So I mean, we think that, you know, when Harper's defeated, that's really going to open the path, because it's going to really, you know, give people, you know, that stimulus that now we're going to keep moving. We're not going to stop because the election is over.
Conservative members of Parliament have consistently declined to comment on eco-war and anti-Harper events on this program. For more information on the Conservative perspective, visit www.conservative.ca.
More than 30 years ago, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Declaration of the Rights of People to Peace, reaffirming that the desire for peace is universal among all peoples, and that every human being should have a right to live in a peaceful environment free from the violence of war. Those who would take over the earth, who would shape it to their will, must realize that the earth and the people are a sacred vessel. If the vessel is damaged, the universe will remember. If one strand of the sacred life of humanity that binds all of us together is damaged, we must hurry to repair it. There must be peace. We must work for it.
I'm delighted to live in a city like Edmonton, in which so many different cultures and faith traditions live together in harmony and call Edmonton home. I think that this city, for the most part, exemplifies the dream and the hope of the United Nations International Day of Peace. I can remember some of my first impressions of Edmonton when I arrived here in 2006. I remember going to a coffee shop, and as I was sipping my coffee and taking in the scene, I noticed a table where men were all talking in a language I didn't recognize. As the days went by, it dawned on me that Edmonton is a truly cosmopolitan city. I happily noticed the different races, ethnicities, cultures, and religions. Here in Edmonton, I hope we all enjoy and celebrate our spiritual diversity. I know that I do. The various cultures and diverse spiritual traditions that make up Edmonton enrich the city. They offer us varieties of sacred texts, of cultural arts, including food, different ways of seeing the world, and countless other unique contributions to life here. Here in Edmonton, one of the beautiful things about the diversity here is that by and large, I think we get along quite well. There have been unfortunate examples of hate language and intolerance, but in every case, the city and the Edmonton Interfaith Center have been quick to decry these unfortunate examples of hate language. At the Interfaith Center, what I love most is the opportunity to form friendships with people I wouldn't ordinarily encounter. Every other month, we visit a different house of worship. We're given a tour of the sacred spaces and the implements there. We eat food prepared by the practitioners, and we hear about their beliefs and practices. Through the Interfaith Center, the visits and celebrations like this one, I've been invited to a Muslim wedding, I've been invited to celebrate Jewish holidays, and I've met and befriended Buddhist monks and shared worldviews with them, sometimes on very personal issues. The City of Edmonton, the Edmonton Interfaith Center, exemplify and fulfill the hope of the United Nations International Day of Peace, that people of different religions and different races can build loving relations among each other. The city itself, celebrations like this one, and the Interfaith Center show that it is possible for different faith traditions and cultures to exist in harmony. If only the world could learn the lesson that we show so beautifully here in Edmonton. On behalf of the Interfaith Center, I bring you greetings. Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting to see the space filled with people that are drawn here because of the power of a word. We all know that words work deep inside us. Words affect the chemistry of our cells. They affect our brain waves. And peace is one of those words that just saying it softly to yourself, saying it aloud to each other, it has a powerful effect on us. But you know, words work best when they're combined with other words, and we know that there's a whole family of virtues that we often associate with this word peace. Words like kindness and hope and love and courage. And so just before we raise the flag, I want to invite you to pause and think for a moment or two about one of those words that I think of as belonging in the family of the words that go with peace, and that's the word compassion. And this is a word that I think is really calling for our attention in these times when we're surrounded by so much wall building and fear mongering, that we need to discover what this word is all about. It's a word that suggests that we have a call, a responsibility as people to actually be there with people who are suffering, who are hurting. Compassion, if you look at how the word is created, has two pieces to it. It involves, first of all, a call to be able to understand the state of those who are hurting, those who are pushed out, those who are ignored and mistreated, to understand what's happening. And then it has a second part to its definition, and that is about a determination to do something to end that hurting or that pushed outness, that isolation of people. And so it's not a fluffy pie in the sky word. It's a very busy street level kind of word that has very practical implications for us. So as we raise the peace flag, I want that word compassion to be in our awareness, because it's a word that should motivate us as we walk away from here to understand that there's something we need to do about today. There's a couple of words tucked away inside compassion that I think are important for us to notice as well before we raise the flag. Compassion begins with this word compass, and a compass points us in a direction. And so Peace Day is an annual reminder that tells us what direction we should be orienting our lives and the choices we make hour by day by week in our individual lives, in the community, and in relation to world events. Compassion orients us. It serves as a compass for us. Another word that hides away inside compassion is the word passion. And passion is a word that reminds us that we've got to feel strongly about stuff. This isn't, oh, okay, I'll fit it in along with my concerns about all kinds of other things. This is life and death stuff for many, many people, our own neighbors and our global neighbors, for us to create a more peaceful world. And so we need to go away today with a sense of passion about what World Peace Day actually means in our lives. So as we raise the flag, I want to come back to that double meaning of the word and ask you to hold on to that through the rest of the day and in the days ahead. Hold on to that idea that first of all, we have to be ready to do the work to become aware of what the reality is, of the lack of peace, of the damage that's being done by violence in all sorts of forms, whether it's war or climate problems. We've got to do the work to become aware, to open our eyes and ears and get the real information and not the propaganda of the big media message deliverers. And then secondly, we've got to have that determination to be actively involved in working for peaceful change. So I want to leave with you the little almost rhyming phrase to connect with our flag raising this afternoon, and that's that we're citizens in this community committed to compassion, action. Compassion, action. So as the flag goes up, let's think about what that might mean for each one of us. It'll be different for everybody, but let's look around and say, how can I become more aware? How can I become more involved in opportunities for action? We're going to make this a city that demonstrates to the world that peace makes a positive difference for people. It's not just a feel-good slogan. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving up your lunch hour. And I am wearing official robes today. This is our Standing on the Side of Love t-shirt that we wear to social justice events. The ancient Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu is said to have said, if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there's to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. And if there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Peace is such a broad concept. When I speak the word, some of you might think of the refugees Audrey just mentioned, other of the cessation of war, still others ending nuclear proliferation. And I suspect some of you are also thinking about the end to domestic violence and justice for the missing and murdered women. Perhaps you're thinking of environmental peace, or peace between the First Nations and the federal nation. And maybe a few of you are even thinking about a nice cup of tea and a little peace and quiet at the end of the day, at the end of your busy schedule. There is so much wrapped up in this idea of peace. Over the course of the next week, the YEG Peace Fest events will offer several different approaches to peace for you to consider. So try to take some more of them in. But today, let's look at about the peace that we can make and find in small communities of people. If there's to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. The 20th century liberal theologian who happened to be a Unitarian, James Luther Adams, he lived and studied in Germany in the 1930s, and he watched the rise of Nazism. And he saw how small communities were forced and co-opted into doing some fairly heinous things. And he concluded that the only way to build peace and trust among people is not through fear, but to structure similar small bodies around a different guiding principle. It was the principle of volunteerism. He called them voluntary associations. Not terribly creative, but he was a theologian, not a poet. No one would be forced to join these voluntary associations, but they were designed to participate in the building of communities and cities. They had to be based on principles of freedom of association and goodwill. Everyone had to have a voice and the right to speak freely and deeply. He believed that would give each person ownership. The community league model that we see here in Edmonton is a good example of what Adams was trying to seek. People coming together to carry out neighborhood, sport, and social activities, to discuss shared concerns and pass them on to the folks who work in that building. Many of the community leagues in the city work very well at doing that. And a good many of our city councilors start in the community league level. The small community, and we each belong to many, whether it's churches or work organizations or neighborhood groups or sporting events. Some are more healthy than others, But when it is a truly free and designed to be a safe place, where it's a place where we can practice peacemaking, where we can learn to accept diversity of opinion, find support for our hopes and dreams, and comfort in hard times. And in these small communities, this is where we take our first peacemaking steps. Talking to one another, examining our own beliefs, and sharing our insights with others. And when we start with ourselves, when we start speaking from the heart, and more importantly, when we start listening from the heart to opinions that are different from ours, those are the very first steps of peacemaking at a community level. Another way to name the peacemaking process is to call it community building. On Saturday, we held the first ever Festival of Faiths right there in City Hall, bringing a large number of groups into contact and conversation. It was peacemaking, and it was an excellent day. And I still marvel when I say it took place here in City Hall. That seat of municipal government of ours is so open and welcoming to such events, and that qualifies as peacemaking work too. I've lived in 4 major world cities. This is the first one that I've ever been to City Hall, and I've been here, 50, 60 times for different events. This is an amazing resource we have that is not the standard around the world. As we build peace, the gift of this place, once called the Temple of Government by a former Catholic Archbishop, cannot be understated. This is the place of peacemaking, though perhaps last week the cabbies and the fans of Uber may not have fully agreed. The point is, people talked. They talked loudly, but they talked. The peace of small communities and cities is an important step, but let's remember what we bring to those small communities. The very bottom rung of Lao Tzu's ladder: if there's to be peace in the community and the home, there must be peace in the heart. There will be no peace if we live our personal lives out of a place of hate and anger. First, we have to make peace with ourselves, and then with the people around us. Not the people who think like us, but the people who don't think like us. That's our first step to becoming peace builders in the world. Thank you.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle